my husband and I are monogamish, so we're like 99% monogamous. Like our daily life is like per usual, okay? Because people are always like, oh my god, you guys like have a threesome every day. Like, no, we don't. We work, we eat, and we have sex, and we go to bed. So it's our daily lives are very similar to other people, but that 1%, the monogamish part, is we do explore with other people together when we go to like sex parties, for example.
In many societies, purity culture imposes rigid expectations and harmful beliefs, particularly on women, regarding their sexual choices. It tells us that our self-worth is intrinsically tied to our chastity and that our value is diminished by our sexual choices. Our guest today knows all too well the pain and the confusion that this mindset can cause. She found herself in a marriage that just was not right for her, and it was a decision that was heavily influenced by the overwhelming pressure to conform to these damaging ideals. Well, she chose to break free from the guilt and the shame imposed by purity culture and embrace her sexuality as a beautiful and an integral part of who she is. Through the heartache of divorce and the challenging journey of self-discovery, Dr. Tara has emerged more beautiful and sexier than ever.
Wow.
So let's get into it. Let's talk about sex.
That was the best intro ever.
Yeah? Thank you. We do try. So Dr. Tara, where did you grow up and how was your childhood?
I grew up in Bangkok, Thailand. Many Westerners know Thailand from the lenses of tourism, from Hollywood, so movies like The Hangover, and also from, sadly, the kind of sexual tourism part of Thailand. And, you know, we have those stereotypes, and they are stereotypes for a reason because we do see them in our country. But what people don't know is, you know, even though you see these different sexualities and open-mindedness in Hollywood movies about Thai culture for Thai people is very conservative and it's very masculine, meaning there is not, there is not equal rights between women and men, and girls are still taught to, be a good girl because then one day you will become a good wife, and you can pursue education, but then ultimately what you ultimately want, and that's the subliminal messages in our societies, but what you ultimately want is marry a good man with a good job and then be a good wife. So that's kind of the subliminary messages that I grew up with. And I say subliminary because I think, like a lot of people watching, listening, and just people around the world, you may not grow up in a culture or with parents who say like, you're gonna be a wife, or that you shouldn't have sex because you're going to hell, right? They don't say that. It's not overt, it's covert. A lot of these like sexism and sexual shame and purity culture messages, they're covert. And that's why it gets you so hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds very similar to my upbringing in Nigeria, but I would even say that sometimes it's actually overt.
In Nigeria?
Yeah. So I think like Asians and West Africans, because that's what I know. Yeah. A lot of our cultures are quite similar in terms
traditional
of like,
and
traditional,
male-led.
conservative, male-led, very, very patriarchal.
Yeah.
And I would say it's not even covert in terms of like, don't have sex before you get married because your husband will respect you more if you're a virgin. Like, we've heard those messages all the time growing up.
Yeah. And how damaging is that, right?
Terrible.
Like, if you really think about, okay, now you have a daughter and she's 5, right? What types of, what types of qualities do you want to instill in this young girl to become a strong woman, right? Like, do you want to tell her all that your worth is attached to here, and whenever you let it go, you're never going to be seen the same again. Yeah. So you better wait until after you get married to, of course, the breadwinner, the man of the family, and there's nothing wrong with all those qualities. You can be a masculine man, a healthy masculine man. You can be a breadwinner. You can, all those things. But the way purity culture tells us is not the same, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
like
awful.
You make way for them, right? And that once you have sex, then you become almost like this property.
Yeah, less worthy and
right.
it took me a while growing up to even realize that actually I do not want to be with the kind of man who respects me more because I'm a virgin. Like, I don't care about that.
Girl, period. That's like pretty much the whole teenage years of my life have been just discovering like, for the men that are toxic, that are like, oh, I only, like, you know, she's nothing if she's had sex, then I don't want to be friends with you either.
Yeah. So when was purity culture introduced to you? Like, at what age? And how did this affect your perspective on relationships?
I would say since very young age, because I went to an all-girls Catholic school. And at my school, you know, since first grade, basically. So how old was that? 6 years old. Since first grade, our school have a uniform. So you have to cover your wrists and you have to cover your knees. And if you don't cover your knees, you get like slapped on the wrist by our like teachers or nuns. And that message, like that action, tells us that there's something wrong with our body and that we must cover our knees and our wrists so that we're not provoking men and you don't become something desirable, and that you should be ashamed of your body, so cover it up. So that's the message that I've been receiving since I was 6. It's so normal. It was normalized. So everyone in my school just thinks it's normal. But then once I get to a certain age, I'm like, oh, that's not normal. To get hit on the wrist because like, you don't cover your knees is not normal.
Yeah. So how did this mindset influence your decision to get married? And when did you get married?
I got married before I turned 30. I'm now 35. Okay. I had to do it. And yeah, to answer your question, purity culture is a huge part of why I got married. And it's not about the sex itself, because by that time I had already had premarital sex. So it's not about the sex act itself. It's about everything else that purity culture has to offer, right? When you turn 30, you're old. You're an old woman. You want to make sure, you know, you get married before that. You want to make sure that a man will like find you desirable, because once you pass 30 years old, they won't find you desirable.
You're on the shelf.
Exactly. You're on the older women shelf, right? So all of that had taught me this this pressure, like I have to get married before I turn 30. And yeah, you know, when I finished my PhD and became a professor, I was like, okay, I have everything going on in my life. I'm now a university professor. I have a cool, you know, property that I live in. I have everything. I have good friends. I have money. So what am I missing? Husband. Need to find one now. And being someone who's just like a go-getter, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get on the apps and just like marry someone. Got on the app, met the first person on the app, went on a date, got married in 6 months.
No freaking way.
Yeah. When I tell you I'm a go-getter, I'm a go-getter.
Wow.
You know,
did you think you were in love? Or were you in love?
To be honest, God, I've never said that. But to be honest, no. I was not in love. I loved him as a person. I loved his, you know, worldview. I loved the fact that he showed me the way when it comes to like psychedelics and stuff like that. I loved that we were supposed to meet because we taught each other so much. But it was a marriage that I got in now, looking back. At the time, did not know, right? And I think a lot of people watching may realize like sometimes you don't know because you're in the trenches. But then looking back now, I definitely got married because I didn't want to be older than 30 and not married.
At what point did you realize that it wasn't right for you?
After a year. Yeah, but I still stayed. I stayed 2 more years.
And then how was divorce?
Divorce was really hard. Divorce was really, really hard because it is a combination of like wife guilt, like, oh, I should have stuck it out, should have tried harder. and a combination of my parents are really disappointed that I'm getting a divorce. No one in our family has ever gotten a divorce. In fact, most people in Thailand don't get a divorce. And even though I live in LA now and I'm now an American and I have adopted a lot of like individualism and those values and, you know, pursuit of happiness, I still have this collectivism, like Thai culture. You gotta make sure you fit into society. You gotta make sure other people don't gossip about you and your divorce, right? So I had a lot of that combination, like wife guilt. My parents are disappointed. I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't make it work, and this is the first failed thing I've done. And that, you know, we have a lot of mutual friends, and a lot of people that have gotten a divorce or are going through it will understand, like, there's a lot of mutual friends that you will ultimately lose. Yeah. And it's not because they have to choose a side or whatever, but it's like, it's just awkward, right? Like, so there's a lot of loss that you have to grieve.
Yeah. And now, what was the turning point for you breaking free from all the chains of purity culture?
I would say the day I got a divorce.
Wow.
I was completely committed to changing myself. I used to very much refer to the textbook of like how to live, right? Like, I want to get married before I turn 30, have a baby before I turn 32, buy a big house with like white picket fence, get a golden retriever, you know, all the things. And, you know, we didn't have that. We bought a property that's beachfront and everything, but I wasn't happy. And then I realized after the divorce, like, it wasn't him. It was me. It definitely wasn't him. It was me. It was me choosing to be in this relationship. It was me choosing to be this person and not speak up for myself. Yeah. So it was all me. And once I realized that it was all me and that I can change it, after the divorce, I committed every day to different practices and modalities to change myself for the better and to assume the position I was always supposed to be in, which is a sexually liberated woman who helps other people feel more comfortable about sex.
Yeah. Who or what provided you with the support and the strength to embark on this journey of sexual empowerment?
I would say myself. I was there for myself a lot and in ways that I have never showed up for myself before up until I was in my 30s. And I would say my best friends were there for me, were non-judgmental. At the beginning, you know, through the divorce, they were a little bit like, are you okay? Are you sure? Like, you guys are so good together. But ultimately, they came on board and they supported me on my journey. And ultimately, my parents, after a while, though, I have to say, to be truthful, my mom didn't talk to me for 2 straight weeks. She didn't pick up the phone.
I thought you were going to say 2 years. It could be worse.
Oh, no.
That's kind of normal for strict parents.
Even when she started talking to me, she was very reserved.
Yeah.
And like unsure about my decision. But those 2 weeks right after, she didn't talk to me. She didn't have the grace to talk to me about it. But anyways, ultimately them, and really one of my biggest cheerleaders is now my husband, Brent. He was like, when we met and when we started dating, he was just my biggest cheerleader. He's like, you got to put your messages out there. Like, you know, you're already teaching sex education in the university. Like, take that and show it to other people. And so because of him and my students, that's why I started my social media, my podcast and all that.
How did you meet Brent?
We met on the plane.
What?
Yeah.
Going from where to where?
We were both heading out to Europe. So the first leg was to the East Coast and was 5 hours. And we sat next to each other and we talked the whole time.
Wow, serendipity.
100% fate. But I have to say we were friends first. Which, you know, almost like it never happened to me in the past. Like, it has always been like courtship, right? Like, the man will like court me, like take me out, go on dates. But with him, we were just friends. And it's just so lovely that we have that foundation. Yeah. Because now, even through sexual exploration and doing non-traditional sexual things, like we have a friendship that we're so open and honest and we can laugh about things. And, you know, not everything has to be extremely romantic, which I actually really like as a Virgo.
Yeah, I'm a Virgo.
High five.
When is your birthday?
September 6th.
Oh, I'm August 30th. It's nearly our birthdays.
It is nearly. And Beyonce.
And Beyonce, of course. Wow, okay. Oh, that is so interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned non-traditional sexual things you do. Are you willing to tell us about that?
Yeah, of course. I'm very open about my experiences. So my husband and I are monogamish. So we're like 99% monogamous. Like our daily life is like per usual, okay? Because people are always like, oh my God, you guys like have a threesome every day. Like, no, we don't. We work, we eat, and we have sex, and we go to bed. So it's, our daily lives are very similar to other people, but that 1%, the monogamish part, is we do explore with other people together when we go to like sex parties, for example. We go to play parties, or how do you say it? I say sex parties. Some people say play parties. Some people say erotic parties. But we go like, I would say every month or 2 months, we visit a party or a sex club and just enjoy the atmosphere together. It's not about, the goal isn't to have sex with other people. The goal is just to bring novelty and excitement to our lives. And if it ends up involving another person or two, like that's available based on our communication and agreement, but it doesn't have to be. So that's why it's not an open relationship, because people often ask me, are you guys open? I'm like, not really, because open means you are able to have sex with other people like whenever, and develop another relationship or develop feelings, but we're not like that, right? That's why the monogamous part is in the beginning of our relationship. It's monogamish. So yeah, we go to sex parties, we have sex in front of other people. Last time I was at a sex party, someone squirted in my hair.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh girl.
Oh my God, I would not enjoy that, but I'm very like germophobic. Is that usually in LA?
Actually, because I've been here now 2.5 months. The last 2 that I went was here.
Oh, I'm interested.
Yeah, it's super fun. I think
I want to know more, because
even just to go observe, I think you're gonna love it.
Exactly, I'm very, very curious. And like, I love my relationship because we have very open conversations as well. Like, we are monogamous. We go to a strip club. I feel like I discovered a new part of myself and like found it very liberating and very fun. Like, he introduced me to that kind of strip club world. And when we are monogamous, but we're not married to the idea of being monogamous forever.
Right.
Like, forever is a long time. And I think that a lot of the reasons why some relationships don't work out,
50%.
50% of relationships end, right?
Yeah.
Marriages end. But then people, like, there's so much restriction. And so for me, we will never rush into anything that's not right for us. But I'm just not married to the idea of you are the only person I must have sex with for the rest of my life, because that's a lot. Like, I'm open to one day that not necessarily being the case. It's not right now, but I think like it's fine.
Ooh, she's sexually curious.
So we'll see. I might get the details of some of those parties. I'm just curious.
I will give you details.
Life is long, you know, even just to see, just be in the environment and have my mind open to it. A lot of people go there just to observe.
Yeah. A lot of people don't engage with other people.
Yeah. Oh, so interesting. Okay. How has your newfound sexual empowerment affected your relationship? It sounds like Brent helped you get there as well.
And I helped him get there as well.
Okay.
Yeah, he helped me embrace myself more and more. And he's not ashamed of a wife who talks about her sex life and talk about having sex, you know, in public.
Yeah.
And that means a lot to me, because I know that a lot of men are not comfortable with their partner talking about their private lives, like in public all the time.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. What about his upbringing do you think makes him so open-minded and essentially confident and secure?
He's an anomaly because his upbringing was very conservative.
Where did he grow up?
He grew up in Seattle.
Okay.
He grew up with loving parents in a suburb. So he has lots of friends, like great childhood, riding a bicycle everywhere. Very different from my like Bangkok upbringing, which is like always in a car or a mall.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had that American like life, the riding a bike, going to school with friends, going to homecoming, going to prom. Like he had a very normal childhood and very loving parents that are very understanding and supported him pursuing art because he's an oil painter. I think the fact that his open-mindedness and support for my sexual liberation comes from his pursuit of art and knowing that there's no right answer ever. Because in art, there's no right answer, right? And it's very nuanced. And I think art taught him to be more nuanced, to not be black and white, to not say monogamous or nothing, to not say marriage or nothing, to not say kids or nothing, right? He's so nuanced. Yeah. And I keep saying that word, but I think it's underrated, isn't it? Like, we want to be friends with nuanced individuals, right? Like, when people are like, this or nothing, I'm like, but that's not life, babe. Like, that's not how things work. You know, ask all these people that got a divorce. Half of them, if you're in the room, half of them have already been divorced. I'm one of them. Yeah. So how do you think you're going to live your life based on black and white forever? So for me, even as a Virgo, which, you know, we tend to have a black and white tendency, I practice, like, I try to force myself to accept a lot of like uncertainty and just like be okay with nuances and be okay with differences and all that. So at this point, I think with Bren and I, we're just unstoppable. And the fact that we are sexually curious and exploring and all of these things, and we don't hide anything, it has really catalyzed like our careers. Like his career, my career, both have just been rising and rising for the last few years.
I love this.
Yeah, we're more comfortable with ourselves. We have better friendships. We make more money, like everything because of sex.
Yeah, I love this. I always say, and I've learned this as I've grown up, nothing really is and everything really isn't. I'm also I used to be a very black and white person, not that open-minded. And now I'm like, nothing, there's like, everything can change.
Exactly.
So I try never to say like, I will never, like I always used to say, I will never wear Crocs. Now I wear Crocs like at least a few times a week, you know, like it doesn't pay to close your mind. And I find that as well, my job ever since I used to be an accountant.
Oh, wow. Very black and white job.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I got into the creative industry and with my current job, I have become so much more open-minded. And I do think that it's made me a better person, just being able to be creative. And as you said, no right or wrong answers, and I love it.
I love
but
that.
I have two questions actually about you and Brent's kind of setup. Number one, were you worried about what his family would think of you as a woman speaking about sex publicly?
At the beginning, I was worried. However, after being together for I think around almost a year, I had this big TED talk where I talk about sex. Obviously, like oh, have you?
Yes,
okay, yeah.
I've seen
it's explicit. Like I talk about sex. They flew down from Seattle to come watch me. They sat like front row, and you know, were the loudest people to clap after I finished.
Wow.
So that spoke.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
So are they
that
open-minded?
spoke way louder than words. Well, they themselves wouldn't go to sex parties.
Yeah.
But they don't judge us.
Wow.
They don't judge us for it.
That is so beautiful.
They're very supportive.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, where they live, it is all overall very conservative. So like, they wouldn't, you know, tell their friends like our lifestyle or talk about like, oh, Tara goes on national TV and talk about like clit or like butthole or anal, you know, like they wouldn't be sharing that like over openly. However, they both accept us and they both support whatever we want to do.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
You know, I really think what you just said about creativity, I think that's so powerful because creativity allows you to be free. And if more people, that even if they're accountants, even if they're lawyers, if more people pursue creativity as a passion outside of their work, they can still keep their jobs that pay the bills. But like, if more people pursue creativity, I think it does something to your brain where you're like, oh, you can break the rules and it's fine to break the rules. And once you're able to break the rules in fashion, in art, then you
cooking,
can break,
even something just like cooking after work. There's so many ways to be creative. Then you can
break the rules everywhere else. And I think that we might have found the answer, babe. We might be changing the world. It's like pursuing creativity allows you to see things more gray. Or colorful in your sense.
And how did you guys build the kind of trust that allows you to be so secure being sexually explorative? Because a lot of people are very insecure, and for good reason. Their partners don't make them secure. Like I always say, like if Falabi and I broke up, it wouldn't be because of cheating. Like that just would not be the case. Like we have so much trust and we're so open. Like if he's attracted to someone, I know that kind of thing. Like it's just not strict. We're not strict people, but that takes a lot of trust.
Yeah.
It's because I trust him so much and I know he trusts me so much. How did you build that trust?
I assume it's probably the same way as you, through a lot of discussions and a lot of following through. Trust is built upon when you say something, you do it. Like following through and consistency build trust. So at the beginning of the relationship, if you say a lot of things and then you don't do it, there's not going to be firm trust in your relationship or a strong bond ever, because that foundation is so shaky. So it's extremely important in the first year of your relationship, and I mean continuously, obviously, but particularly building the house at the beginning, you have to make sure whatever you say, you do. And for us, we have a lot of discussions about a lot of things. You know, me being a professor, I'm always asking him questions and quizzing him on things. And at the beginning of our relationship, it was COVID. So he would, you know, cook in the house because we couldn't go anywhere. And it was actually the best time to develop a relationship, because did you guys meet during that time too?
Yeah, but we were long distance, and he
right.
couldn't come here and I couldn't go to the US. So we ended up meeting in Mexico. But from January to November, all we did was talk all day.
Yeah. And you're right. Talking is one of the ways to build a stronger bond and connection and trust. Because through communication, and also like reciprocal communication, right? Not just you talking, but the other person shares about their experiences as well. Through reciprocity of communication, you learn about each other so much, and then through saying you want to do something and doing it, you build the trust. And it's not just about what you're going to do for them, it's also what you're going to do for yourself, because then they watch you. People can see you and they can see through if you follow through or not. If you're someone that says, I'm gonna go to the gym 3 times this week.
Oh, please. I feel like you're about to attack me.
I mean, if you have developed a relationship for a long time and they understand like you're so busy and you struggle with like schedules, that makes sense. But if it's at the beginning, if you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, people can kind of observe like, oh, but you don't follow through.
I agree with
and that
you.
means a lot.
What advice would you give someone really struggling with the shame and guilt imposed by purity culture right now? And I ask that because I have quite a few friends who are religious and so really adhered to the no sex before marriage. And even when they didn't, they struggled with it, but it was always like their default. That was what they wanted to do. And it's like they slip up, they get back on the train. And you would think that when people get married, that just automatically goes, but it doesn't. Because it's mental, and it builds this thing in your mind where you associate sex with like, this is unclean, so much guilt, so much shame. And when you spend so many years building that muscle, just because you get married does not mean that you're suddenly going to be sexually liberated. It is so damaging. What would you say to people struggling with that?
You're right, it is extremely damaging, and we actually can see it in research that purity culture and purity teachings have done so much damage on adolescents, like young girls, and of course as they go into their womanhood and through marriage, it doesn't leave them. Like you said, it's always there. So for me, 3 practices have really helped me accepting my sexuality and becoming more sex positive and empowered. The very first thing is actually talking to a sex coach or sex therapist. And it really helps in terms of having a professional third party talk you through the experiences you've gone through and talk you through where do you want to go, right? Where do you want to go to? Do you want to go to a place where you can have sex and have multiple orgasms and enjoy them? Do you want to go to a place where you're able to look at your partner in the eyes and really feel all of their sensations, really feel them inside you? Or do you want to go to even a crazier, kinkier place? Do you want to go to a place where you are enjoying like threesomes, where you're enjoying going to a sex party? Or do you want to go to a place too where you enjoy BDSM? So there's so many things in the sexuality world that people have either never heard of or have never experienced. And when people say like, oh, sex is boring, it's because you are having boring sex. It's not because sex is boring. Sex is not boring. There's so many things you can do. There's like literally thousands of things you can do.
Does it get boring eventually with the same person, even if you're exploring?
It's not when you're exploring.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not, because there's always new things to do. And even when you go do new things, you can always come back to the old things and it feels new again. So the first thing is talking to a sex coach, a sex therapist is always good. The second thing is sexual meditation. I have done sexual meditation every single day for the last 4 years.
Oh wow, what does that look like?
So it's like a regular meditation practice, but it focuses on sexual thoughts, feelings, and sensations in the body. So I have a free guided sexual meditation on YouTube.
Okay.
And for those that don't know how to meditate like in silence, you can always just press play, listen to either the 5-minute one or a 10-minute one.
Is it your voice?
Yeah.
I love that.
It is my voice. So if you find that annoying, you might have to find someone else. But it is my voice. I have a very calm voice in the meditation videos. But they're basically sexual meditation, but guided by me. And yeah, it focuses on like sensations in the body. So I encourage people to, you know, massage the back of their ears, massage their nipples, massage their pubic area, and deep breaths, because breath is literally directly goes to your genitals. So when men have erectile dysfunction, for example, the only thing you have to do is breath work, right? You don't need Viagra, you need breath work, and you need to do it religiously, because the breath literally goes to the penis and like helps the blood flow in the penis.
Wow.
So I would highly encourage people to look into holistic modalities before like taking a bunch of medications.
Okay.
So sexual meditation is the second one, and it has really helped me like become a lot more sexually confident and assertive and tell my partner what I want. And then lastly is sex positive journaling. So in sex positive journaling, you can do something very simple. I love like small goals and just keep meeting the goals. So let's say you're gonna write down 3 things that you're grateful for with your sexuality and your body. So in the morning, every single morning for the past 5 years, I write 3 things that I'm grateful for my body, for my sexuality. So, you know, I love my boobies. You know, I love, I'm grateful for the sex I had with Bren last night. I'm grateful for the orgasms I was able to give myself yesterday from masturbation. Whatever it is, it allows you to keep yourself in the sexuality realm and keep that sexual juice going, because people become so dormant and like non-sexual when you just don't activate it for a long time. That's why you got to do it for yourself. Like you got to activate it and be in the sexual presence of yourself.
How can we as individuals contribute to creating a more empowering environment for everyone in regards to sex and sexuality?
Oh, I love that question. First off, don't judge other people. We have a saying in the sexuality industry, don't yuck other people's yums. Like, don't yuck their yums. So remaining non-judgmental will be the biggest shift that you can do for the people, for the culture, for sex positivity moving forward. Number 2 is talking about sex more openly, but within your boundary. I really respect everybody, and I respect if they want to keep it private, but at the same time, you know, you can talk about sex that's not your sex life, right? You can be like talking about like, oh, you know, like the other day I listened to this podcast and they talk about anal. Like, you know, have you guys ever done it? Right? Like you can be the person that break the ice and have the conversation, and allows people to feel more and more comfortable around you. But also realistically knowing that at the beginning, some people will not like it. They'll be like, oh, she's too, what's the word that British people use a lot? Crude.
Oh, do we use that word a lot?
Oh, I get it a lot. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, like, oh, she's too crude.
Oh, yeah, because we're more conservative generally. I like how Americans are more open with things like that. I think what we're talking about, not in Texas. That's why I'm not going to live there.
I'm from LA. We're very sexually liberated, but at the same time, we also have those other places that are not.
Have you done any research on the effect of stress and burnout on sex within a relationship?
Yeah. So stress is the number one sex drive killer. The number one. When people are like, oh my God, like we haven't had sex for a long time. What do we do? Should we buy new lingerie? Should we buy a new sex toy? Like, should we go to a strip club? Like, no, babe, you need to reduce stress. The very first thing you want to do is to relax. When you're stressed out and your body stores stress, right? Your body doesn't just like, oh, I'm done with work, no stress. Like, no. You have stored stress in your body and your hormones are still in a whack. So you need to have a self-care routine in order to relax yourself and get into a space where you have capacity to be erotic, to be sexual, to try new things, to laugh through sex and all the good things that sex has to offer. But if you're mentally not there, you're not going to be there. So it's very important for people to find a way, an effective stress reduction strategy for themselves.
What advice would you give to couples who are looking to be more sexually open and liberated?
Try anal.
Oh my God.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Well, that too, but I would say the one thing that a lot of people are missing out on is sex toys. And there's a lot of different sex toys, and it's not just for the women. Because a lot of men are like, well, but it's only for the women. Well, I mean, first off, it's great when it's for the women, because then women get horny from their toys, then they want to fuck, then, all the good things come. However, there's a lot of sex toys for couples that they can try. So for me, I would say exploring into the world of sex toys can be an easier way to bring about exploration and changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does the future of your sex life look like?
Ooh, let's see. Anal.
You seem to love anal.
I just love saying the word because it's so funny.
Yeah, and it gets people like, oh my God.
Laughing.
Yeah.
Exactly. The future of my sex life will involve a lot of tantric practices.
Is that the one where I watched this show? Was it? I can't remember what it was called, but like this guy, a couple had issues with like getting into this like horny space, and they discovered that one of them is more like, basically they just rubbed like these feathers or something on her, and that turned her on. So she didn't enjoy like penetration; she enjoyed other forms of sex. Is that tantric?
I love that. That's a part of tantric philosophy.
Okay.
So tantric philosophies are all about energy. It's like energetic sex. All about connecting through energy, through eye contact, through slow touches, through massages, through exploring parts of the body and holes that are not supposed to be explored.
Like ears?
Yeah.
I was not even being serious.
Like ears. Yeah.
Really?
Or the taint. Right, like the perineum massage for men is supposed to be extremely orgasmic, but yet there's so much tabooness surrounding it, right? Like whenever I say like, would you ever want to try pegging? Like straight men are like, oh hell no, like no one's getting near my butthole. And I'm like, but it's just a part. It's just a body part. It doesn't have sexual orientation, just a body part. So why wouldn't you try getting your butthole massaged? And have multiple orgasms. Like if I were you, I would.
Straight men are shaking right now.
They're missing out. That's what. They're missing
there's
out.
Nothing that threatens their masculinity as much as
than
that.
playing their butthole. Oh no. But there's a lot of men that are like, when they are about to come, they want a little pinky in the butthole, and that's okay. And you want to keep it a secret. That's for now. That's okay. But
your secret is safe.
I would say tantric. Yeah. So I would want to go to tantric retreats where they do these like energetic orgasms without touching the body.
Wow, that is so
They go
powerful.
really close to the body, like so. My husband would then like almost touch my skin but won't.
Yeah.
And like just a lot of energy. I am looking forward to exploring that world. Yeah.
And this is my last question. So for you, is being sexually liberated, sexually adventurous closely tied to being in love? Or do you feel like even if it wasn't your husband and you were not in love, would you still have this kind of outlook and appetite for sex?
I'd say I would still have the outlook, like the sex positivity and the appetite for sex, because I am now a sexually liberated woman and nothing can stop me. But with love, it is like tenfold, right? With love and with my partner, I am obsessed with my husband. Like, we've been together for years, but I look at him, like every time I see him, I want to jump on him because he's so sexy. And that's just it's not something I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Being with my soulmate, being with a partner that I'm like obsessed with after all these years, in a way, it's freedom. It's freedom for me to be who I am, because I already know that this is my person. It opens up all the doors in my life to pursue, because I don't have to worry about my dating life, my sex life, my love life, because he's here and he's here for me. And so, yeah, I would say with love, it's tenfold.
What is the one thing about him that you love the most? One thing.
His penis.
Oh my God. And on that note.
Okay, but no joke, his passion. He's a very passionate human being. And whenever you talk to him, he gets so riled up because he's very passionate. And I really love that. And his penis.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank
that
you
was
for
such a
having
great
me.
conversation.
Thank you.
You're going to have some people clutching their pearls. Like, oh my God.
I really hope so.
How could you stick to selling clothes? That's what they say when they don't like what we're talking about. They're like, you should just be a clothing brand. Stick to selling clothes.
No, but you're a liberated woman, a free woman, and you can do whatever you want. And I think that's so beautiful. And I mean, your fashion really reflects it, because you like break the rules. Like, you have a bunch of different colors on one dress, which like people always have these rules. Like, what is it? Like no more two colors together or something like that. Yeah. So I really love and admire your passion.
Wear what you want. Fuck who you want.
Love that. Use that as a reel, please.
So for people who want to become more sexually empowered, myself included, where can we find you?
Yes, you can find me on my website, on Instagram, on TikTok. It's lovebites.co, LUVBITES.co.
Fabulous. We will share that. I really loved the interview you did with your husband. I watched it 2 days ago. I just love how secure he is, how honest and friendly you guys are. You guys are friends.
Yeah,
It's
we are
beautiful.
friends. Yeah, thank you.